Hey everyone, my name is Nick. Today I'm working on my 2003 Lincoln Town Car. It's a Cartier model. Oh, I guess you can see that with the logo there. So if you just saw the power pedals on this vehicle, they're at least moving a little bit, but their full travel path, it's just not happening. For whatever reason, there's a plastic gear that is used to control the actuation and movement of the gears, and the gear, well, it's made of plastic and it cracks. Okay, so looking under the dash, you can see here, this is obviously fuse box. Some models here will have a plastic panel that runs underneath, which is going to have the light in it. I usually just wrap the light kind of around this vacuum tube after I disconnect it. There are 3 plastic tabs that hold this under dash panel in place. You can kind of see where some of them are, and you pop those clips out, which I think I've placed. Hey, here they are. I'll show you what that looks like. Kind of looks like this. And once you get that panel down, you now have access to things. So to do this job, first of all, you have to maintain some level of flexibility in your life. It's going to be tough. I do the job with the pedal assembly removed, the brake pedal assembly removed from the car. So you can see there's 1, 2, 3, and you can't see it because the wire's over top, but 4 13 millimeter nuts that are holding the pedal assembly to the wall. And there's I think it's an 8 or a 10 or something holding it up top, which you can't see because, well, the pedal assembly is in the way. So, besides that, you have a wire to disconnect. It's kind of like an old speedometer cable that connects in at the top up there. And also, I typically disconnect the steering shaft here because it gives you a lot more room. So, to do this job, get ready. You're going to probably need some deep well 13, deep well 10, ratchet set, etc. And you can do this job. It's not a big deal at all, but you just want to make sure you have a decent assortment of wrenches and sockets to do this, and make sure you're also parked in a place where you don't need to move the car, because if you get into a position where you have to move the car with the pedal assembly out, it's going to be kind of hard to move the car with no brake pedal, so just something to keep in mind. Okay, so starting out, you have a brake switch you need to disconnect, which is right there. The clip for it is unfortunately inboard, which makes that incredibly difficult to pop off, but I'm not sure the lighting is really going to highlight it, but you can probably see the pin connector right up inside. So if you can just work your screwdriver behind it, it'll help pop it off like that. Once you have that off, once you have that disconnected, you just kind of put that aside somewhere over here. You'll see you have your cruise deactivator switch up above. Okay, next you should be able to rotate out the cruise deactivator switch from its home. So you can see there, it's just a counterclockwise rotation. Tuck that aside over here. And next, you have a pin right here that you need to pop out. You should be able to use a pick or a screwdriver or something once you get your wiring out of the way. It likes to always join back in. So you get you can kind of see it here. You have your lock pin for the brake rod, which now you should be able to just rotate. This is going to be tough to film. But rotate that off. The switch off here. Just requires I would say finesse and stuff, but you'll probably see things like a washer come off. Unfortunately, I wish I was able to provide better camera angles for this, but that's not going to be a reality here. just walking the switch off. You can hopefully see there's a plastic clip that remains. What you want to do is take off that cable that you see above, right here. And to get that off, that's easier said than done. You have to work the plastic lip of this up and over. And unfortunately, you need a couple hands to do that. I wish there was a simple way to indicate how to do it, but you literally are, you can see it there, you got to get the black plastic lip up and over that white plastic lip. There's no cheat code. If you are too rough with that plastic, you're going to crack it. So you need to use some finesse. And you'd think by squeezing here on the ends, like that would help. Doesn't. It's literally you're working a piece of plastic over another piece of plastic. Okay, as you can see, I do have the mechanism popped off. And the plastic has some flex to it. Obviously, tread carefully. So what I've done is I've taken out the pinch bolt for the steering shaft here, so you can kind of push this back and get yourself a bit more wiggle room. You could have taken that one out, but you'll notice there's a spring behind it, and I'd rather not fight that. So you have 4 of these 15mm nuts. You probably can see them. One's there's another there, and another up there. I also took out a 10mm bolt that went up top. You can just barely kind of see it at the edge. It's right there. And unfortunately, these things are blocked, but you get the idea. So once you have the 4 fasteners out here, you'll be able to rotate this pedal assembly out of the car. By taking that pinch bolt out, you're just gaining some more room to work things forward, because you're going to have to fight this a bit. So I'll be back in just a moment to kind of show you. Okay, so like I was saying, once you get your 4 fasteners off, you're going to have a clip up top that you'll want to pop loose. And that's kind of clipped on there. Just tuck this behind here. Keep your lights and harnesses out of the way. And you'll see that by disconnecting the steering shaft here, you gain yourself some room. What I did under the hood, I pulled the master cylinder brake booster assembly. I just pulled it forward a little bit. You don't need to go hog wild and pull it all the way out. Just pull it forward enough so you get your studs shorter poking through. And by doing that, you gain yourself, as you can see, the pedal assembly is falling out now. But I'm going to need 2 hands to get the adjustment correctly to get the brake pedal assembly out. But you get the idea. And by doing that, you're just going to be rotating the assembly around and out. Just pay attention to where you're going. Make sure you don't drag or chafe or cut a wire or something. But it's all doable here, and you'll have it out in just a moment. So as you can see here, I kind of have the shaft is being pressed against there. I've rotated it clockwise if you're looking at the face of it. And you can see how it's mounted and kind of popping out this way. But again, I need 2 hands, but this is the way you walk this pedal assembly out. Okay, so you can see here I got it at this point now, and it's hooked behind that cover. I know the shop manual won't tell you, but bending this ear back is going to be a lot easier than any other option, because now the pedal is out. So hallelujah. And let's move on to the next step. Okay, using your T20 driver bit, go ahead and remove these. Now you can start working on this plastic here. So this plastic cap, as you can see, is held in with a bunch of these plastic tabs, which you can kind of push and work over. But you get the idea. You got to get all these tabs to push through, and you don't want to break them off. I typically use a flat blade screwdriver, and work them through. Use a couple of them, kind of, if you get halfway through, you can wedge this in to hold the pressure on one side so that you're able to get the other side off. So I think that makes sense. Okay, so I've got this loosened up on one side. Go to the other side here. See that? Pop. And inside, of course, you can see there's our problem. See how the gears split? So, not good there. But to proceed ahead, got a few things we're going to have to do, one of which is remove that swedge. Okay, so once you get the cap off, you'll probably see that your cracked gear. You'll also notice there's plenty of grease in here, so don't forget that there's going to be tons of that inside of here. But your goal is you got to flatten this out to make this flush, because you have to get this washer here up and over, and it's swedged. So you have two options you could use. I'm trying to be easy here because DIY at home. I have a little Dremel tool. If you have a die grinder, cut off wheel, something, you could cut this off. You do not want to go beyond this washer. Remember, your goal is just to get this flat so that the swedge part that's holding this washer on pops off, and then you can get rid of the burrs and stuff. You could also use metal cutting wheel. I'm just using this grinding, smoothing out attachment on my Dremel. I'm just going to flatten it until I get to the point that it's ready. Okay, so as you can see, I've flattened it out mostly, and you can see now how it's moving independently. So you just want to knock this off here, and eventually you'll get this washer past the point of holding anymore. So use whatever tools are necessary to do it, and maybe a little hammer, tap, tap, and it'll pop off. And now you can see I got it just to the point it would walk off flush, and it's off. So now you can turn this out and off the car. Like so. And again, the reason you don't want to go too much, because you need that little bit there, because that's what the hat clip is going to go over. And you can see Ford designed it with a plastic gear with an insert. Maybe that's brass on the end. I don't know. Either way, El Junco. And inside the bag here is the new one. As it rolls away. So here's the gear. And we'll go ahead and install this into its new spot. Use some of this fine grease on the back side just to make sure a nice coating is present. If you want to use more, you can, but for the workload this thing's going to be doing, I'm sure this is going to be more than sufficient. Put some around the threads of the gear. So you can see here, you just thread it on. Because remember, you're working over things. So now, as you can see, the pedals are not quite where they need to be. So we need to work the pedal all the way back. And of course, right now I have all this pressure on it. So need to reposition it and get this gearing into a spot. You can see what's happening there. See how the gear works against this? Maybe that makes sense as it raises the pedal. It's going to be kind of hard to tell at this angle, but I don't know how I'm going to feature that So you can see where the end of travel is there. There's a hash or a kind of a mark there. You can see that's the end of the travel path, just furthest back. And if you turn it the other way, we'll pull the pedal all the way back. So you can see here the indexing suggests it's pretty much at the end of its travel path. You don't want to go too far. So the best way to do this is move the pedal to the point that it is fully towards the driver. And you can see why here, because there's a full stop there that prevents you from going any further. So that works perfectly. And once you hit that point, you can take the cover, and you can see here thing's full of grease, so nothing wrong there. Back into its home. Because remember, this is the side, this is brake pedal here in the car, and the cable comes from this way, so snap that back in. And it's back in its home, and I can move this back, reinstall the 2 screws that are right there, the T20s, and tighten this back up and work it back into the car. And I'll even show that I make mistakes too. Maybe if you were watching it earlier, forgot to put the cap over the end there. Luckily, you can kind of do this in the car, which is also kind of the cheat. But anyways, don't forget to put the cap on if you were yelling at me earlier. And now you can see I've hammered the end cap on at least. So I don't know what the critical level is of that, but it seemed wise to put it on since it was included. What a bonehead move. I can't believe I did that. That was very stupid. Luckily, I caught it now, not after I'd fully assembled it. While looking at this video and editing it, I realized I never explained anything about the pedal indexing, which that's kind of important. Otherwise, you're going to have like the throttle's going to be way too far away and the brake pedal's going to be too close. You're going to hit the button. It's not going to work. The way I've installed the setup in the car originally is I had the brake pedal all the way back because it had a positive stop on it, being that metal arm, which I showed earlier in the video. What I didn't mention was that I also did the same on the throttle. So I maneuvered the throttle to bring it as close to the driver's seat as possible, not as far away, as close to the driver's seat as possible. And then I connected everything together. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Okay, so I got everything buttoned back up. Got the cable plugged in to the drive gear, as you can hopefully see in the camera there. So if I hit the button on the dash, you can see that's all the way back, and this down is towards you. Now we have full movement. Much, much better. Exactly how it should be. So I would consider this a job well done. Power pedals, functional. Thanks for watching.